Hi, I got a kind of special Hill Farmstead beer. It's the Nordic Saison, the one that they have brewed with Andres Kissmeyer, the brewer from, I guess Kissmeyer was his brewery basically. But he went around to a bunch of different breweries a while back in America and brewed a similar beer like this. It says Nordic inspired Farmstead ale, but it uses honey, heather flowers, rose hips, and rhubarb. Those are the kind of interesting ingredients. It's not exactly a gruit, and the Hill Farmstead one is quite Brettanomyces forward, but in more of like a fruity style, not quite as funky. At least that's how I remember it. I've had it a couple of times and really liked it. Though this is a bit of a gusher of a bottle. We'll see what happens. This was bottled I guess almost a year ago, 11 months ago. But they let it bottle condition extensively. I think this is only released a couple months ago. And this does not look like a gusher. That's good. Ooh, it's kind of hard to get the cap off there. Yep, we are safe from gushing. It's like 6% alcohol. It doesn't say it on the bottle, I'm not sure. But I remember it being basically like one of my favorites. So we shall see. I remember it being quite a bit more carbonated. But that looks pretty good. And yeah, it's definitely hazy. Like it's been sitting untouched, safe in my cellar and then in my fridge for, months. But it seems like this is something about this beer just makes it so it doesn't clear out as much as other Hill Farmstead beers. Head looks beautiful, and it's almost so hazy that I can't quite see the carbonation. There you go. Nice label. Yeah, it looks like a hazy IPA, basically, but with a nicer head. And this one is pretty strong on the heather flowers and the rose hips. It has that gruit, herbal, floral, earthy thing happening. If you don't know what a gruit is, that's the old-fashioned style of making beers without hops and just using herbs and twigs sometimes and all sorts of stuff to fill in for that. I guess before many people used hops, they used herbs in beer, at least in Europe. Had to stick around okay. But it's a nice, slight citrusy sort of tropical Brett thing happening with all these other herbs. It kind of smells a little mossy. But it's kind of like their brother Soigné. That's their lime blood orange Farmstead ale. It's not as sour as even their classic ones like Anna and Arthur. I found that those ones, even though they don't advertise them as being sour, they're quite sour, but this is not smelling too sour. Yeah, it just smells very foresty, but with plenty of fruit, and I think there's going to be more fruit in the flavor. Yeah, it's almost pineapple-y in the flavor. It's really cool. And the foresty herbs turn a little bit more peppery, and maybe not quite coriander, but not quite licorice, but sort of a fennel type thing maybe. And a downright juicy mouthfeel. It's got some good body in there, a little bit of sweetness, just barely tart. Not going to be difficult to drink this at all. And the intense herbal quality, you kind of get used to it. It's lingering on my tongue a bit, but now it's just like a really citrusy, somewhat tropical, like Brett Saison. Yeah, to see him so juicy, it seems like it's a shandy with a bunch of Gruit herbs thrown in, but not overwhelming so or weird or anything. It still has, you know, hops. They use American and European hops in here, so that might be bringing out some extra citrusy tropical notes too. It just has a really nice, mild Brett character. It's not as weird and out there as their Dorothy dry hop Brett beer. That one has some of that barnyard and some of that I don't know what the word for it is. Just funky and kind of rotting, or not rotting, but more medicinally notes, more phenolic. This isn't that. It's just like the fruity Brett matching up with the more wild, I guess, herbs that are coming out and giving some of that weird forest sort of, not stink, but greenness and weird forest floor and, you know, fermenting and earthiness. I just love Brett Saisons, Brett beers that have that juicy character. It's not bone dry. It's not too phenolic. It's not aspiriny and chalky and bitter. It's got some body to it. That's why I really like this one. And that just develops more with this beer. It just gets more and more juicy. So many different facets to this beer, but it's not all over the place and wacky. Yeah. Just really juicy on the palate. Makes your mouth water, but there's no burning acid. It's not going to be taxing to finish this beer. Just love this style. I wish more brewers would do stuff like this, or do these weird Gruit-like herbal uses that are steady-handed, not like let's throw a huge amount of this into some boring beer and it's just way out in the open, and it just almost seems more of a novelty or gimmick when you do it that way. Yeah, that's fantastic. This is like a 4.75 beer for me. I should have bought even more bottles of this. This deserves the whole case. Goodbye.